All right, fellas, what's going on? Denonu here, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And in this video here, we're going to be talking about anime, the Japanimation, all of that good stuff. Bringing, well, I guess the series never went nowhere, so I can't say I'm bringing it back, but the last time we did one of these videos is, I think, back in March. And I was looking for something to talk about, right? And I figured, why not, you know, just make another one of these videos? Because I can make these videos all day. I'm a huge anime fan, and I can easily talk about any particular anime that I've seen, you know, over like the past 30 years. But we're going to be talking about some new hotness. Nothing really too exciting, not just yet anyway. But we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia, or what's the Japanese title for it? Boku no Hero Academia, something. But it's I think it's My Hero Academy is what it's called. But anyway, this is something that that's been out for a while. I think they had a season of it before, but I'm just now starting to binge watch it. I think I jumped on probably maybe halfway in between the first season, and it's like super good so far. The art style was something that me personally I wasn't really feeling at first, but it has its own kind of sort of charm to it. Like after I got into it and you know, got used to certain characters and things like that, got used to the art style, it basically, you know, it gives me what I want from a superhero show. And that's, you know, that's why I like really enjoy it. Basically it's about this main character. Just to give you guys an overall synopsis of what the story is about, it's basically about this main kid, this main character, and everybody in this world, think of them like, let's say, are like mutants from Marvel Comics. For those of you who don't know, mutants are just people who are just born with powers. You know, they just have them. There's no reason. It's just one day they wake up. Oh, you have this genetic makeup. Oh shit, you got superpowers, and it's random as far as what you got sometimes, but. So that's the kind of world that this is, you know, this is in. One day, you know, everybody was normal, and then like the next day, people just started waking up with powers. That's just how it was. So now you have, let's say, like, I think they mention it, but I forget how long. But let's say like 3 or 4 generations in, maybe 5 or 6 of people that are just, you know, some people are born with powers and some aren't. And the main character, he's somebody who really enjoys, you know, he wants to be a superhero. That's like his lifelong dream. That's like his thing, right? But he's one of these people who just weren't born with powers. I mean, that's, you know, it is what it is. And he gets picked on by like this one kid that he goes to school with who has powers. I forget what his name is. He's like I hate his character because it's like he just serves no purpose. But I'll get to him later when we talk about the cast of characters. But the main character doesn't have any superpowers, right? But he's still a nice kid. He wants to help people, things like that. And he's stuck on this dream about becoming a hero. That's like that, you know, that's his thing. And everybody else has powers around him. And he's, you know, hoping that, you know, maybe he's just a late bloomer, like his aren't going to kick in. But apparently they got this test that they can perform on you where it'll determine if you're going to get powers or not, you know. And I want to say like his mom takes him to the test or whatever. And it turns out that, oh, he's just one of these people who's just never going to get powers. And he eventually gets, you know, disheartened by it a little bit, but he still has the dream, you know. And he eventually gets caught up into, because you got villains in this world too. It's not just all heroes. Some people become heroes, some people become villains. It's very comic book-esque, you know, the storylines that they got in this. And he comes across this one villain is terrorizing people in the street or whatever, right? Now, the main character, he idolizes the greatest hero in the world, this guy called All Might. Got the most cheesiest name in the world, the most cheesiest character, but All Might is the shit. He's like my favorite character in all of his cheesiness. But so he idolizes All Might. All Might's like the top hero in the world, like I said, right? And this one villain goes around, he basically gets caught up in the path of this villain, you know, doing villainy. And All Might just happens to be nearby and helps save this kid. And basically what he does is the guy, All Might, gets into a fight with this villain, and how he gets caught up is the villain it's like, oh shit, it's All Might. I know I'm not as, you know, as beast as him because he's like the top guy in the world, right? So he's like, let me leave and kidnap somebody. So All Might, what happens is All Might, I think, beats him. I think he, when they first fight, All Might whoops his butt, beats him. And the guy and the villain, if I remember right, his powers were to basically like turn into liquid, or he was something like some kind of gelatin liquid or something. But All Might shoved him into like a 2-liter soda bottle. And I want to say, I forget how they met up, but I know All Might at the end of the day stops the villain. And I think he meets up with the main character, right? And the main character, he's like awestruck because he's meeting his hero for the first time, right? And I forget the question he asked him, but it was something like, oh, why did you become a hero? How did you get your power? Something like that, right? And All Might is like, oh, well, you know, some people are born with power, some aren't. And he gives him the spiel, right? And through their conversation, All Might is, let's say, I'm not going to say awestruck by the main character, but he understands the plight that he's going through, meaning about not having powers, but yet you still want to be a hero and all that. So All Might, he doesn't tell the main character right away, but All Might wasn't born with his powers. They were given to him. So that's why he understands where the main character is coming from. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to help this kid out. You know what I'm saying? It was some other reasons I don't want to get into because I don't want to spoil anything if any of you guys go to check it out. But he had his own reasons for doing this. But basically what he does is he takes the kid under his wing and kind of sort of trains him, but not really. But basically what he does is he goes to the main character and is like, look, if you want powers, look, yeah, they always say that, you know, you have to be born with powers, but I know a way you can get superpowers. And basically what he does is he helps train the main character, and in doing so, he transfers his powers to the main character. So now the main character has all these badass abilities, but now he has to learn how to work with them, and he goes to kind of like a hero school. Like people who got powers, it's like their whole society is dedicated around this heroism. And you basically go to school, learn how to become a hero. You learn how to team up with your other classmates, all of that kind of sort of stuff. But I'll get into that later. But All Might, what he does is, and I swear it's like the most nastiest thing ever, but in order to give his superpowers to this kid, and I can honestly say, like, you know what? I would do this too. Like if somebody came to me with powers and be like, yo, look, you gotta do this to earn some powers. I'd be like, to get his abilities, yeah, I would do it to you too. Basically what he does is All Might's like, look, I can give you my superpowers, but in order to do it, you're going to have to eat this hair. And he plucks a hair off his head or somewhere on his body and he gives it to him. And he's like, look, you got to swallow this hair. And, and at first I was like, whoa, what? Like, you want me to eat your hair? Like, right? That was what I was, that was my first thought. But after like seeing some of the stuff that this main character can do, I'd be like, you know what? I might have to just eat it, swallow it back, YouTube. Don't think about it. But basically he eats the hair, and in doing so, he gains All Might's abilities. He basically gains what's called, I think they call it all for one or one for all, something like that. And basically what it is how would I describe it? It's like super hard to explain here, but it's basically you gain the knowledge and experience. Well, maybe not the experience, but you gain the ability, so to speak, of the previous person who had it, and it gets passed down. So if I had to think of something that it reminds me of, think of it like if any of you guys have seen Avatar, the cartoon, it's like that. You know how like the Avatar is passed on from person to person, but they still have all of the memories of the previous Avatar. It's something similar like that. So let's say like if I'm a badass martial artist and I know all these martial arts moves and stuff like that, and let's say over the course of my life, I trained to become as, let's say, powerful as Goku, right? Just throwing it out there. I'm just that badass. I could just become as strong as Goku. Let's just throw it out there. Like I'm not going to be as strong as Krillin or like Yamcha, even worse. But, I trained all my life. I could become the greatest Saiyan ever lived. But at the end of the day, if somebody eats my hair, I don't gain their knowledge and, let's say, their fighting ability. But let's say I would inherit Goku's ki. However much ki that he built up. Now, granted, now I have all of this key ability, but I don't know how to use it. And that's what the main character has to train for, because he basically gains all of his abilities and strength, but his body isn't equipped to bear the load of it just yet because he's still a kid. He's not a grown adult. He hasn't trained to become this, to become this vessel of all of this immense power and strength. So basically he feeds him the hair and he puts him through this kind of like training gauntlet. I want to say before he makes him eat his hair, he's like, you know what, look, I'm not going to give my power to those of you who ain't worthy. So what he does is he basically puts this kid through like this hardcore training cleanup exercise where you got to clean up all the trash on this beach. And it was basically, he gave him an impossible task. And the kid actually did it. And he was like, you know what? Okay, this kid's worthy. So he gave him his hair. He gave him the powers, but the powers didn't kick in right away because he still has to learn how to use them. So All Might's like, oh, like, yeah, like it's going to take a while to kick in. You're not just going to wake up tomorrow and just be as strong as I am. You have the ability. Your body has to digest it. It has to, grow over course of time. You have to learn how to use them, things like that. But I want to say like a couple episodes later, the main character, powers start to kick in. Not all at once, but when he does certain things, he gets like super strength and things like that, but he can't control it. So what he does is he joins this academy that all the other kids and stuff go to who have powers. And I think the only other person he knows there right out the gate is the kid who I mentioned earlier. I forget what his name is, but he's like the kid that bullies him, that bullies the main character. And let me just get into this. I've never been one for bullying. Even when it comes to my animes, I just don't understand it. If there's a character driven arc around it or something, I can understand. But this bully character is like such a shitty character. Like he's like my least favorite character in the whole entire show. Because he bullies the main character for being nice. And it makes no sense. Like I understand like every anime gotta have their anti-hero Vegeta / Sasuke character. I get that. Don't get me wrong. I completely understand that. Those are normally my most favorite characters when it comes to anime. But like this guy, I can't even say like, okay, he wasn't even like an anti-hero type character. He was just a dick for being a dick. Like he would bully the main character as they were kids coming up because, he would bully the main character. The main character was one of the kind of people who were like, like, oh yeah, he bullies me. I don't like it, but that's still my friend. I'm thinking like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you retarded? Are you slow? Like, why are you befriending this guy that keeps picking on you and whipping your ass every day? But then again, it's like, okay, the main character is nice, so he's not gonna punch the bully in the mouth, right? So the bully character is like, oh, I hate him for being so nice to me, even after I do all this stuff to him. I'm like, then stop being the dick towards him. That's why I don't like his character. So he's like the rival character that the main character has as his powers grow and he becomes the beast that he is. His bully character is like, oh, I'm better than him because because I say I am. And he's that kind of character throughout the whole thing so far. They haven't finished the anime yet, so I'm assuming maybe later on down the line in a couple seasons, he's going to befriend the main character, turn that around. I'm assuming because otherwise you're just making a shitty character and just keeping him there for no reason. But to get back on track, they both go to this hero academy, and the anime is pretty much about them becoming heroes in this society. So you have them going to class, they learn how to, do various things. They have certain contests and examinations that they go through to test out their abilities and how they work with each other and things like that. And that's pretty much where they're at right now. I think they're just getting to the spot where, I guess they're coming out of that school phase and they're becoming like junior grade apprentice heroes, and they're learning from the other normal heroes that are already out there. But basically the gist of the anime is basically about inspiration and I guess following your dream, because as they progress through this school and through all of these tests and they make them fight each other and things like that, what everybody pretty much learns is like how to use their abilities in different ways, how to counterbalance each other with their abilities. Like one guy is like his powers are like fire and ice. So he learns that like, okay, like in order to be the best that I can be, I got to learn how to use my fire side, because he hated his dad and his dad was like fire, but his mom was ice. and his dad treated his mom like shit, so he hated his dad, and his mom didn't like him because he reminded her of his dad. So he had his own ball of wax. But everybody has like their own little trials and tribulations that they go through as you learn, as you watch the anime, right? And besides them going through the course of the high school type stuff, learning their abilities and learning what they can do, a couple times you see the villain side of things, where certain villains will attack and they get thrown into like some real shit. Whereas like, you know, before it's like, oh yeah, we're a part of this school, we're doing training, and it's like villains come and take over, and it's like, oh, you know, now we're fighting, like these are some of the strongest villains out there that they had to go against because none of the regular heroes were there at the time, you know? I think in that episode they went to a like some kind of training retreat, and excuse me. And they went to some kind of training retreat to train in, you know, in various different environments. But as they did so, these villains attacked, and, you know, they kind of had to fight off the villains until All Might got there. All Might's situation, and I'm going to say a spoiler here just to give you guys a premise of what's going on. Part of the main character's drive, as far as why he wants to be as strong as All Might, is because he is like the inheritor of All Might's abilities, right? All Might is still there. He still has all of his abilities. You know, he's still the strongest hero in the world. It's not like his power gets transferred and then he doesn't have them. The catch is that All Might is, let's say, injured, so to speak. A couple years before he meets the main character, he gets injured and his internal organs got messed up. So let's say before this injury, he was fine. Like he was just, you know, he had all these badass abilities and stuff like that. But the catch was after the injury, he can't hold his transformations as so long. Basically, All Might, whenever he is viewed by, let's say, the public, whenever he's out saving people, he's like basically like this big buff white dude wearing casual clothes, wearing like t-shirts and jeans. That's the kind of character he is. But that big buff form is kind of like, think of it like Goku when he goes Super Saiyan. When any of the Saiyans in DBZ go Super Saiyan, they power up and they get buffed. They get more muscular. All Might's the same way. His regular form, without him being powered up, he's like, think of Captain America before he got the super soldier serum. That's how skinny he is on a regular, right? But then when he uses his abilities, he can become all big and buff, and he has like all the strength in the world. That's like his thing. And I think his power is pretty much just strength. That's why he probably chose the name All Might, because they haven't shown him doing anything else. Like, I don't see no kind of energy projection, none of that stuff. It's just all his brute strength is so strong that he can do other things. And I'll get into that later when I describe some of the main character's abilities. But basically, All Might is on a ticking clock. He's going to die soon, but at the end of the day, he can't be the hero that he once was. Because he can't hold his, he can't hold his power for as long as he used to be. That's, it's basically what I'm saying. Whereas before he can hold his power like for days on end. Now he can hold his power like for up to like, let's say 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes even 2, depending on how far he pushes himself during those minutes. So he's not, he knows that his days of being a hero are limited, so to speak. So the main character knows this too. So he's like, in the shortest amount of time possible, I have to become as strong as my idol, because he's the inheritor of his abilities. So he's like, I got to be the top hero in the world, because when he drops down, the world's going to need somebody to step up to take his place. So that's part of his motivations as far as doing what he does. And over the course of the anime, you're pretty much watching him grow into his abilities and into his powers and things like that. And he uses them in a lot of different ways, YouTube. Like I said, All Might's powers, like, he doesn't have energy projection, none of that stuff. If I had to give a name to it, it's kind of like, like Ki from DBZ, where it's just basically you have stamina and your internal, I guess, power and strength inside of your body that you can use in different ways. Like, for instance, during the main, one of the main things, I think early on in season 2, the main character fights that Fire and Ice guy. Now, the Fire and Ice guy, the one kid who's like that, he's like the Sasuke of this anime, where he's like the best kid out there. He's the top rated because his parents were, came from a high lineage of people with powers, and he's been training since he was a kid. So he's like the Sasuke of this group, where he just knows everything, knows how to fight, all that stuff. He's like the best out of their whole generation of classmen. And the main character, when he goes against them, he's throwing all these ice waves and stuff at him. Now, like I said before, All Might's power is just pretty much strength, right? That's all it is. So the main character doesn't have no energy projection. He can't put up no, like, oh, let me put up a defense shield or nothing like that. Like, you don't got none of that. All you have is strength. Now, mind you, main character has strength that he can't control. And another reason why I like it is because every time the kid uses his abilities, it hurts him in some way. Because he's overusing his abilities. He can't control it. Like, for instance, the ice guy throws ice waves at him, right? So he'll dodge out of the way, but when he encounters one that, let's say, he can't dodge, he plucks his finger. Now, mind you, to the average person, that's nothing. You pluck your finger and, it is what it is. Nothing happens, right? But when he's plucking his finger so hard, number one, it breaks his fingers, two, he's plucking so hard that it's creating air pressure so strong, it's like tornado gusts of wind. So that's how he uses it, uses his strength. It's like, yeah, you don't have energy projection, but if the ice is coming towards him, he can aim his fingers, pluck his finger, and he's plucking so strong that the air gust of just his finger moving is pushing the ice wave back and knocking it all away from him, as if he's like throwing a Kamehameha blast at somebody. That's how strong he is. And All Might's the same way. All Might, I think, in order to beat some guy like the first couple episodes, he uppercutted this guy. And he uppercutted so hard that it made like a tornado gust of wind because of the air pressure and stuff when he punched. So that's how strong his powers are. That's why I said you don't really have anything else, but it's just pure strength, and your strength is just so strong that it causes all these extra things to happen. So the main character, every time he uses his abilities to either pluck something away or he'll punch somebody using his strength, it like breaks his arm, breaks his legs anytime. And basically he can use his body's strength to do these superhuman feats. But since he can't control it, it obviously hurts him and breaks his leg. And then he has to get healed afterwards and things like that. Right. And basically throughout the course of them doing these classes, the person who's healing him is, she basically said, look, I don't like the way you're learning how to use your abilities because you're relying on me to heal you. So the next time you break something, I'm not healing it. So that kind of forced him to not rely on that. So he basically had to learn how to use his abilities and use his super strength without breaking his body apart doing it. And he eventually learns how to do it. And that's why I like this anime so much. Because like I said before, it's incredibly inspirational in what it does. And you're learning and you're watching the main character go through all of this stuff. And you're getting inspired by the trials that he has to overcome in order to achieve his dream. And that's basically the core ideology of the anime is sacrifice, achieving your dreams, and rising to overcome challenge to be the best person you can be. And that's probably the number one reason why I love it. At the end of the day, it's goofy. So some people probably won't like it. The art style, people, are probably going to get turned off of that. The action, yeah, I can name hundreds of animes that have more action in it and even better drawn action. That's not the point. But like I said, the point is that, at least for me, what I get out of it is the action scenes are intense for what they are. You have all of the meaning and the inspiration behind the characters, certain ones. Every character had, like I said, has their own trial and tribulation. So in a way, it's just like Naruto, how you have like the main character Naruto, and then you have everybody in his generation of people that's in the show, that's kids that you learn everything about as you watch the anime. Same type of shonen thing here in My Hero Academy. Same exact thing. You have all the various different hero characters as kids. They're trying to become heroes. You learn bits and pieces about their backstory through flashbacks as the anime progresses. And the music is actually pretty good too. I think the main fight theme or whatever, I actually fall asleep to that and listen to that sometimes. It's actually pretty cool. I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to take it, because I know at this point here, I think where they're at in the latest episode is the main character, he learns, I guess, he has to learn how to use his abilities a certain way. So All Might told him to train under the person that trained him. and he basically learned this new ability to channel his strength into basically all the parts of his body at one time. And I forget what he calls it, but he basically can channel all of his strength into his body at one time to do various different things at once, rather than just say, oh, let me charge it up into my arm and punch something, or things like that, or put the power into his legs so he could jump very hard or very far or very fast. So he basically is learning that. And I think, like I said earlier in the video, they're getting into stuff where they're outside of the school stuff now. And basically they're fighting actual top level villains in the series now. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with that, because they have like this side story of the villains are trying to do something, and I guess the heroes are trying to stop them from doing it. And All Might is dealing with his problems because he knows that the main character has to be ready, but the main character isn't ready. So it's like they all have their own. There's plenty of different subplots in the anime as well, and it's just so far from what I'm seeing of it, I'm really enjoying it, and that's why I'm making a video, on YouTube here today talking about it. So I'm gonna try to keep these videos here. Probably maybe push them out maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending on how you guys like them. But I don't mind doing these because there's millions of animes I could talk about. Like I said, if you guys have a particular anime that you want to hear me talk about, or you want me to give my thoughts on, even if it's something I haven't seen, let me know. I have no problem going up and watching something and then making a video about it, talking about it. But I just wanted to talk about My Hero Academy. I felt like doing a commentary video, and I was like, you know what? I haven't did one of these in a while. So let me talk about, what I'm currently watching versus something I seen 10 years ago. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the video here for us. My name is Denonu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next Real Anime Talk video. Peace out.